Senator Anderson, we're live on YouTube.
All right, let's open the meeting then and start with roll call.
Co-Chairman Anderson.
Here.
Senator Nethercott. Senator Salzar. Chairman Kinski.
Excused.
And Senator Guru.
Excused.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's hear about it.
Good morning, members of the committee. Senator Anderson, Mr. Co-Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, are you the Vice? You're the Vice Chair, right?
Yeah, I'm in
Mr.
charge of
Vice
any
Chair.
vice, yeah.
Members of the committee, I'm David Swindell, Executive Director of the Wyoming Retirement System. With me at the counter is Paul Wood from Gable, Roeder, and Smith. They are our actuaries out of the Denver office. Paul supervises teams in both Dallas and Denver, but is up here from the Denver office. And we are here to present to you House Bill 83. Truly, we are so excited. And it's hard to get excited about actuarial stuff at 8 in the morning. But this is the bill that was worked by the Joint Committee through the summer, through the fall, into the winter, and has made it all the way through the House and is now here in this committee. This proposal adopts a best practice method to manage contribution rates according to actuarial analysis starting in FY27, i.e. 1 July 2026 and beyond. Here's the basic provisions of the proposal. Rates in the public employee plan would adjust once every 2 years on July 1st of the even-numbered year. So, for example, we would measure our statistics on January 1st, 2025. By April 15th, 2025, the report of the actuarially determined contribution would be made to effective July 1st, 2026. So everyone would have about 14 or 15 months notice. It would stay in effect until 1 July 2028, which would then be informed by a similar process. Rates can't increase by more than 50 basis points, that's 0.5%, in any given 2-year period. Rates cannot be decreased below normal cost. Rates can't be reduced until the fund hits at least 99% funded. And the rate adjustments are split evenly between the employer and the employee. Employers can pay all or part of the employee share if they wish, but for state employees, the current subsidy of 5.57 remains. And so for future adjustments, up or down, would be shared equally, absent further legislation on that matter. The reason for this bill is that contributing the ADC rate is necessary if the plan is to stay on path towards full funding in about 24 or 25 years. Adopting an administrative method to adjust rates according to professional analysis within legislative guardrails is a recognized best practice that's been proven helpful in many other states. Here's our situation. The current rate is 18.62%, and it's 1.99%, almost 2% less than to what the actuaries recommend. Separate legislation would manually increase the rate by 1% over the next 2 years. That's your Senate File 67, which, Mr. Vice Chairman, is being heard by your in the House Appropriations Committee here in a few minutes. The ADC concept would take over in 1 July 2026 and adjust rates every 2 years, according to the most recent ADC calculations.
One question, Mr. Swindell. What is the 18.62 rate?
That is the total contribution rate from the employee and the employer in this plan. It's 9.25% employee, 9.37% employer, for a total rate of 18.62% of payroll. Those are the contributions that come into the plan every month.
Thank you.
So anyway, to summarize, achieving the ADC keeps the plan on track towards full funding. Doing so eventually lowers the rate because no one is no longer needing to make progress on the unfunded liability because that goal would have been achieved. Changing rates in small increments sooner rather than larger increments later improves plan funding and is more manageable for government budgets. So, Mr. Co-Chairman, when this hit the House, there were several questions on the House floor, and I've got a little memo here kind of reciting some of the issues that came up during first reading in the House. They might also come up in first reading in the Senate, so I thought this might be helpful. The first question was, the rate increases in this House Bill 0083 are split almost 50-50, but not quite. Where's that coming from? Because if you look at the bill, the employee contribution, we split 49.68% to the employee and 50.32% to the employer. It's on page 7, lines 1 through 7. Well, that reflects the present status quo proportions. As I said earlier, 9.25% employee and 9.37% employer, which is almost 50-50, but not quite. So that's the answer to that. How do we know that there won't be endless 0.5% increases every 2 years, like forever? Well, we know that the current rate of 18.62% is short of what is necessary by about 2%. Senate File 67 would manually raise it by 1%, and that leaves about 99 basis points to this mechanism in House Bill 83. I would expect it to raise rates another 50 basis points in July 2026, and then there'll be another increment, presumably smaller, in 2028. But after that, all the modeling that we showed LSO and we showed the Joint Committee, we expect rates to be relatively stable after that. You know, it's always possible that economic conditions would be so difficult that WRS would not be able to achieve our estimated 6.8% return. And if it was just somewhat less, well, it's just going to take longer to get to full funding. If it was a whole lot less, well, then we've got upward pressure on rates, downward pressure on benefits. But I would remind everybody here that the state of Wyoming will have to encounter and navigate those economic conditions with this mechanism or without. So the question for the body really is the mechanism helpful to you or not? Question, why do we need to get to full funding? Well, the sooner we can get to full funding, the sooner the rates can drop back down to normal cost. We shouldn't be paying 18.62, we should be paying 12 or 13. The difference is that amortization component that we have to pay in order to catch up on the unfunded liability to grow the fund sufficiently so that we can pay all the promises that we've made. A fully funded public employee plan would have about $2.5 billion more in assets. And that means if markets go up 10%, that's $250 million that we're kind of leaving on the table right now. So a fully funded plan generates more investment income. The board can't recommend a COLA until the plan is fully funded per statute. The goal is to reach 100% is to secure the fund, and then the legislature can consider a COLA, or we could have rate reductions. And 100% funding means the investment earnings are larger than in a plan that is underfunded. Why do we have to have a pension? When are we going to move to a 401k? Well, the pension is our number one tool, our number one reason that state employees say that they work for the state of Wyoming and that they stay. It's number one for recruiting and retention. But it's difficult to consider moving to a 401k until the plan is fully funded. Eventually, we have to close the gap and fully fund the existing obligations. The method to do that is to have rates higher than normal cost. The additional amortization component is the component that gains ground. If new employees are placed into a 401k, they don't help gain ground. The remaining population is unlikely to have the financial strength to ever achieve full funding. Once the plan is fully funded, there can be a discussion as to what the best benefit plan is going forward. There would be many things to consider. This is a long bill. How can I understand it? Well, it is kind of a long bill, but most of it is because the rates are discussed in various parts of the code, and your LSO attorneys did a really good job to work hard to make sure that all the rate provisions were appropriately addressed or adjusted in the legislation. That was a question of Representative Walters. He answered it very well. And basically, this is his answer. You know, the basic concept is fairly straightforward. To rely upon professional calculations to adjust rates, within tight guardrails and with adequate notice for budgeting. It's an alternative to ad hoc adjustments, which are usually delayed, which is costly and provides less notice, and it prevents us from getting behind.
Mr. Swindell, I'm looking at all these charts, and I don't see one that shows us getting to 100%. Is there one that shows that favorable outcome? Maybe I'm looking at the wrong charts.
Mr. Vice Chairman, on the back of your one-pager,
I have a one-pager? Yes, okay.
I would refer you to the top chart. It's a little small there, but you'll see the 100% near the yellow line, about 3/4 of the way across the page. And that's the combination of House Bill or Senate File 67 and this House Bill 83. We would project rates, we would get to 100% in 2048, compared to the status quo of doing nothing, which would be 87%, that's the blue line, and 97% out in 30 years, that's 2053.
And what's that next chart that shows the big drop? What?
That's the contribution rate, and that illustrates the fact that once you hit full funding, rates can drop.
And that contribution rate is for the employer and the employee?
Correct. This is for the total contribution rate, and so it would be split evenly, or almost evenly in this bill.
Okay, thank you.
And then finally, one other question that came up, I don't think this was actually in the hearing, but was asked off the side. Okay, this bill only affects the large public employee plan, the one that has 88% of our employees, 88% of our contributions, 88% of just about everything that WRS does. We have all these other public safety plans for law enforcement, firefighters, judges. Why aren't the other plans included? The answer is that they could be, and once their rates are adjusted closer to the ADC rates, we might someday consider that. But for now, the focus is to keep this just on the public employee plan so that it was simpler. The other plans have different rate situations, different benefit provisions, different stakeholders. And the tight guardrails that will work for the public employee plan might not work so well like in the law enforcement plan, where you're more than 6% off the pace. It would take 12 or 14 years to get rates adjusted. That might not be soon enough. But the body wanted to keep these tight guardrails, so we'll just adjust rates manually in those other plans, and then we'll see in the future. It does, in theory, once all the plans are close to the ADC rate, you may want to consider wrapping them into this mechanism if this mechanism were to prove helpful to you, but that's for future discussion. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my remarks, subject to questions from you or other members of the committee.
Thank you. Questions for the committee for Mr. Swindell? Questions.
Mr. Chairman, I do recall the testimony and working on the bill in the interim, so I feel quite capable and confident. Thanks for being here this morning, Director. Further public comment?
Further agency comment.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Kevin Hibbard. I'm the Director of the State Budget Department. My comments are brief and pretty simple. The processes within House Bill 83 meet the expectations of the budget process. We've worked, collaborated with LSO and the Department of Retirement, and it works that way, very simple on the biennium budget process. And to note, the Chapter 17 report, which this committee is well aware of, will include those modifications on a biennial basis. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Hibbard? Any questions for Mr. Hibbard? Thank you, Mr. Hibbard. Any input from the public comment? There's no one on the Zoom. It's just in the room then. No public comment. We'll close public comment. Committee, it's to you.
Move the
What
bill.
would you like to do? Move it and second it? I'd like to second it. Discussion.
Question.
Question, all right. Roll call.
Senator Guru has registered an aye vote. Senator Nethercott,
Aye.
Senator Salzar,
No.
and Co-Chair Anderson.
Aye.
Co-Chair Anderson, House Bill 83 has passed with 3 ayes.
All right, well, we'll take that to the floor. Thank you, Mr. Swindell. Thank you for all your input, Mr. Hibbert. And thank you, Mr. Wood, for all your input. Are you going to take this one? You are? Okay.
Any questions?
I've got folders full of information. Thank you.
Almost too much.
All right, next bill to come before the SAC is House Bill 138, State Funds Pool Participation and Fund Limits. Do we have anybody that would like to speak about this? If so, come on forward and join us.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I am also a member of the Capital Finance and Investments Committee, so I can assist, but I know the Treasurer's Office provides the greatest expertise on this bill, so they can maybe help walk us through it and explain the prudence of it.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee. My name's Dawn Williams. I'm the Deputy State Treasurer. I'm joined here with Caleb Simpson, who's our Deputy Chief Investment Officer, and my Chief Financial Officer, Katie Smith. This is a bill that, as Senator Nethercott said, was brought by the Select Committee on Capital Financing and Investments to set a minimum amount of deposit in the Pool A account, which is established at $5 million. Subsequently, then, the bill does go through and make conforming amendments to allow that to happen, and it does delete 3 accounts from Pool A. It doesn't delete the account, but it moves them from Pool A back to the state agency pool, largely because they have 0 balances. And it is an appropriate, one of them, the emergency services account, has $70,000. That's just not appropriate to be in a longer-term investment pool. Additionally, there are 2 accounts that the committee selected to, or elected to remain in the account, the Wyoming Public Television Matching Funds account. It did not have $5 million in it, so the committee added $2 million approximately to increase that account so that it would meet the $5 million threshold, as well as a second account, the State Fair Endowment account. That was, there's an appropriation for $1.9 million in the bill to approximately $1.9 million to make this account to the $5 million balance as well. And Mr. Chairman, that is, excuse me?
If we got $2,035,000 in there, and we're only putting in $2,035,000, how do we get to $5 million?
Mr. Chairman, there is, it's closer to $3 million that is the balance, so the additional $2 million would bring it up to the $5 million threshold that we recommend for this account.
Okay,
I'm sorry if I misspoke on that. That is, Mr. Chairman, that really is the bill. It's pretty simple.
simple for you.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize. So Katie does have the actual balances within those accounts, if that would be helpful to you, to know what the current balance is versus the appropriation that's in the bill.
Okay,
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Katie Smith, CFO. So the public TV account currently has $2.9 million in it, and the State Fair Endowment has 3.8.
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
I know the Treasurer's Office indicated there was one account with like $70,000 in it, and just maybe further conversation to illustrate the point as to why those are not appropriate for long-term investments, and maybe more examples, perhaps.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator, for your question. Caleb Simpson, Deputy Chief Investment Officer. Fundamentally and functionally, what we're trying to convey with this bill and the precedent we're trying to establish is that this is a long-term investment pool appropriate for larger balances. If you look across the board, particularly in the private assets that this portfolio invests in, for instance, long-term target of 5% in private credit, long-term target of 16% in core and non-core real estate. These are illiquid assets that are not readily available for withdrawal. So really looking for larger, more institutional pools of capital to maintain that stability given the objectives and their return objectives and the asset composition in Pool A. Thank you.
Other questions for the presenters of this simple bill? Other questions? No other questions? Thank you. Thank you. Any other agencies to present? Any other agencies that would like to present? Any public comments that would like to present? Any public comments, Schwartz? No public comment? We'll close public comment and take it to you, SAC. What would you like to do?
Move the bill.
I'll second. Move and second. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? No discussion? Let's call roll, please.
Senator Anderson has registered an aye vote. Senator Nethercott?
Aye.
Senator Salzar?
No.
And Co-Chair Anderson?
Aye. Who did you say registered a
Senator Guru?
guru? Yeah.
Co-Chair Anderson, House Bill 138 passed with 3 ayes.
Next one to come before us. Next one to come before the committee is House Bill 33, mining operations blasting requirements. And I bet there's some blasters here to talk about this one. No blasters to talk about this one? This came from the Joint Minerals Business and Economic Development. Nobody wants to present it?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
it looks like there's only an appropriation here of $502,000 for fiscal year '24, 301 in '25, and 201 in '26. The appropriation is to the Department of Environmental Quality for 1 full-time position. So in light of the fact we're only evaluating the prudence of adding 1 full-time position based on this appropriation, perhaps we can call on DEQ, not necessarily to explain the bill, but to explain the need for 1 full-time position with this appropriation. I see DEQ is here, so perhaps that's appropriate at this time, Mr. Chairman.
I think that's appropriate for the DEQ to tell us about this 1 position.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Todd Parfit, Director of the Department of Environmental Quality. As was mentioned, this was a bill that was worked through the interim with the Joint Minerals Committee. And Kyle Wentland is here with me. He is the Land Quality Division Administrator and can walk you through the position that we're requesting and the costs associated with that.
Kyle, go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. My name is Kyle Wentland. I'm the Land Quality Administrator of DEQ. What this bill basically does is it puts into effect blasting requirements for non-coal. We have coal blasting requirements, and there is a coal program that services 25 mines and does all the instruction and teaching and certification for those mines. This position is for non-coal. Up to this point, the state does not have set requirements in non-coal. This position would service right now, as of today, 50 different mine sites across the state, and they're scattered. They're mostly quarry-type operations. And we also have the new gold operation coming on west of Cheyenne and 2 new quarry expansions in limestone operations that are coming. So within the next year, this would move to 53 sites. Part of this position is reviewing the technical adequacy of those blasting plans and then also teaching and certifying blasting professionals for that activity within the state. Our class sizes right now are running, ideally the best class size is about 18 to 20. Our certification classes are in the mid-30s, low to mid-30s now. We're needing to add classes and add the ability to teach and certify and add CEs annually for these blasters. So this position not only is reviewing the technical adequacy of blasting plans for non-coal, dealing with any complaints that arise, but also adding additional classes to the teaching and certification of blasters across the state. The basic breakdown, as indicated, is in the 100 series, you're 138,624 annually, or 277,248 in the biennial fiscal year for salary and fringe. The 200 series annually for is 47,365. For the biennial fiscal year is 94,730. There is the one-time stand-up in the 200 series for a vehicle, 3 seismographs, and some office space for this individual. I can tell you right now, we are cost-sharing a seismograph just with some issues related to a non-coal site out of the coal program. And the reason for the 3 seismographs is we'll probably have at a minimum of right now 2 deployed, and we have to have 1 to be able to send in for recertification and calibration as a replacement. When we look at, that's really kind of the rest of the breakout. I can go into more if you would like. Otherwise, that's probably the quick summary, Mr. Chairman.
I was not aware that those non-coal sites used a lot of blasting. You're saying maybe the aggregate guys and stuff use a lot of blasting?
Mr. Chairman, there's blasting in non-coal in your aggregate for granite and limestone, and then also in deep bentonite right now as well. We're seeing that expand in the bentonite industry as well. And then we also have this gold operation coming online. And it's been noted in prior testimony, the gold mine is within eyeshot of Kirk County State Park. So, you know, we're just seeing a lot of expansion into these non-coal mineral assets, which is good for the diversity of the state, but it also raises some interactions that we need to be prepared for.
So deep bentonite is using it for overburden?
Mr. Chairman, they're shooting the seam because bentonite's hard.
Oh,
And, yep, that's correct.
Any other questions for the director and his assistant? No, none? Okay, thank you. Thank you for your input. Any other public comment on mining operations blasting requirements? Yes.
Mr. Chairman, good morning. Members of the committee, Rob Hendry, I'm the chairman of the Business Alliance, and we're behind this bill. And we think that it gives the companies an idea of what they're gonna do, what they're gonna have to do out there before they mine. As far as my other hat, I'm a rancher in western Natrona County, and there's several possible mines out there in the Rattlesnake. There's a gold mine down toward Independence Rock side of the Rattlesnakes. They don't know how they're gonna mine it yet, but there is some gold out there they've found. They're also on the east end of Beaver Rim. They're looking for some rare earth minerals. And I haven't heard what they've found, but if they do that, they'll have to do some blasting, and so now they know the requirements. And then as a landowner, in this bill, this technical advisor is going to be able to help our springs and ensure that our springs and our water is not affected. So I think it's a very good idea to have this professional, and that's why it's going to cost some money, because this he's well-educated and that kind of blasting and the radius of those blasts and stuff. So I think it's a good bill, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Hendry? Any questions? On those mines that are on your property, make sure they use a lot of dozers and cat equipment on those.
Mr. Chairman, I had an old friend of mine say he never could make any money with anything that didn't say cat on it. But, you know, right now, that most of that is on BLM. They'll have to cross some RD to get to it, but most of it's on BLM.
Oh, okay. Any other questions for Mr. Hendry? Thank you, Mr. Hendry. Thank you for being here.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Dan Benford. I'm the Executive Director of the Associated General Contractors of Wyoming, and we are here in support of this bill as well. As to the FTE, we would support that, not only for helping train the blasters that are out there. Our guys are mostly doing the aggregate side of things, but we also look to them for the helping teach these classes. Having been a teacher in a former life, 18 to 20 is an ideal class size. When you start getting over 30, it gets a little bit hard to really make a difference. So we'd like to see those class sizes come back down, and this FTE would be helping them train more of our people. I don't think what Mr. Wentland didn't say is BLM right now has quite a few applications for more mines out there. And so with 53 coming online in the next year, I mean, there's thousands of applications. And we might see this rare earth minerals, the aggregate side blowing up more. And I think this one position would be very helpful. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Mr., what is it, Benford? Benford?
Yes.
Are your members pretty much thinking they're going to use blasting for most of their mining?
We do use a lot of the blasting when we're in aggregates. We have mines just west of town here, and pretty much I just heard every other Friday, it seems, we shut down and blast a bit out of a quarry there. So yeah, they are blasting quite a bit in their quarries.
Yes, that's the hardest rock in America that the UP uses. Any other questions? Any other questions for Mr. Benford? Mr. Benford, thank you for being here. Any other input to blasting? Anybody else want to blast something here? No? Any public comment on blasting? Nobody on the Zoom? Nobody else in the room? We'll close public comment. Committee, it's up to you.
Move it.
Move and seconded. All right.
We're growing government together this morning.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Any comments, any additions, any
Question.
changes? Question? Please call the roll.
Senator Nethercott.
Aye.
Senator Salzar.
Aye.
And Co-Chair Anderson.
Aye.
We'll need to leave the vote open probably for Senator Guru. He didn't indicate that on his absentee vote, so we could hold the vote open if you wish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hold it open for
We'll
him.
make sure that he gets an opportunity.
He didn't put that one down?
No, he didn't.
Huh. Must have been in a hurry. I'm sure he
I
wants to
think he
vote on it.
overlooked it, yeah.
So let's hold it
But you
open.
do have 3 ayes. It
Thank
do
you.
pass.
Just close it out so we can
So we can what?
move the bill. So they can put the bill to the floor.
Well, we
Should I
can,
close the vote?
we can close it out.
Okay, I'll
We can
close
close it out with 3 votes.
Yeah, okay.
So the House Bill 33 passes the Senate Appropriations Committee, Mining Operations Blasting Requirements. And that'll go to the floor, and who's gonna,
The Minerals Committee will take it.
Minerals Committee will do it? Okay. And that's Dockstetter, huh? He will take it. Yeah, no matter what he says, he'll do it. All right, next bill to come before the Senate Appropriations Committee is House Bill 74, Public Health Nursing Budget Requests. Is there anyone who wants to talk about this?
Mr.
Oh, the DEQ does?
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes.
if you recall, this is a joint appropriations committee bill, so you approved it earlier this interim. Mr. Chairman, I can explain this bill either here or I can move to the front, whatever you.
You can just stay right there.
All right, thank you, Mr.
Please.
Chairman. So there's no appropriation in this bill. I want to reiterate, there's no appropriation in this bill. This bill intends to kind of correct an error as a result of increasing the Department of Health budget paying for contract public health nurses. But it doesn't allow for the counties to simultaneously increase that. There are 5 counties across the state that contract with public health nurses. That's Campbell, Laramie, Natrona, Sweetwater, and Teton, that use the models. They have an MOU with the state and the counties. The MOU requires the state to pay 65% and the county to pay 35%. The dollar amount at the time this MOU begins is then frozen, and it doesn't allow for the statutory change to occur that we have already done in the appropriations budget. So this just allows those nurses' salaries to be increased consistent with the other public health nurses across the state, rather than creating a disparity for those nurses who are contracted with those counties. So that's all the bill does. Happy to stand for questions, Mr. Chairman.
I have a question. The fiscal note shows fiscal year 27 with 193 million, or 193,000, but I don't see that in the bill at all. What's that about? And the explanation doesn't say anything about it either.
Mr. Chairman, I think it has to do with when the budget bill goes into effect for the Department of Health's budget, which would then allow for these contract nurses' budgets, their salaries potentially to be increased based on those MOUs with the counties. So, I think.
I see, it says it's half of what the biennium would be
Right.
for 2027.
So if you see the last sentence on the fiscal note, based on the estimates, no further compensation increases to state public health nursing employees are assumed in the 25-26 biennium.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions of the presenter? No? All right, any public comment? Any public comment?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, committee members, Stephanie Pyle. I'm the Senior Administrator of the Public Health Division of the Wyoming Department of Health. And really, we're here to answer any questions the committee may have. Senator Nethercott, that was a great explanation. Just one minor change to that is that Campbell County, as you may know, does not actually have a contract with us for public health nursing services. We do contract with Campbell County for other services, but they're not part of the public health nursing model where we provide funding to those counties. The other item I just wanted to mention is that before the House Appropriations Committee, we did point out what we believe to be an inadvertent error in that if you look at page 2, line 4, the original bill said that the Department of Health would make the request in its standard budget, and that implied that we would have to potentially have a delay if there was a compensation increase and the next budget was our supplemental budget. So the addition that you'll see on page 2, line 4, is it now reads the department's standard budget or supplemental budget, and the House Appropriations Committee did approve that. So I just wanted to draw that to your attention that that was a minor change from the original bill that you saw. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
That was a change in the House?
Correct, Mr.
Don't
Chairman.
those usually come in engrossed then?
That's what your bill is.
Oh, it is engrossed. Yeah, excuse me. It is. Yeah. All right, any questions for the presenters? Ms. Pyle? Any questions? Any questions? Thank you. Thank you for being here and presenting. Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Senator Co-Chairman and other members. My name is Anna Kinder. I'm the Executive Director of the Casper and Natrona County Health Department. I have had that position since July of 2019, and I ask for your support in this bill. It will have a direct impact on my staff, and I will stand for any questions that you have for me.
Any questions for Ms. Kinder? Any questions?
You like nurses in Natrona County?
I like nurses in Natrona County. I like one really especially. How many nurses do you have? What's your staff?
We have 8 nurses on staff.
And when you say nurses, does that mean RNs or does that mean?
Yes, we have 7 RNs and 1 LPN.
Is that enough?
Not really with the statutorily required activities that we do, but we utilize the city county funding to do that. It has shrunk over time from when I started with the health department 15 years ago. There are less nurses that we have on staff. So kind of it's a change in how we do the work and how we fulfill the requirements.
Okay. Questions? No more questions. Thank you, Anna. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for making the drive down to.
It was nice yesterday,
Yeah.
just windy.
Any other public input? Hearing none, it's back, I'll close public input and it's back to committee.
Move the bill.
Second, any discussion, any changes, anything you'd like to do?
Roll call.
Roll call. That's what you'd like to do? Yeah. Well, that's
Senator
what we'll do
Guru,
then.
Senator Guru registered an absentee, aye. Senator Nethercott,
Aye.
Senator Salzar,
Aye.
and Co-Chair Anderson.
Aye.
Co-Chair Anderson, House Bill 74 engrossed. It's too fast with 4 ayes.
All right, we'll take that to the floor. Who'd like to work on that?
I'll take it.
You're gonna do it? Last bill to come before Senate Appropriations is House Bill 34, Solid Waste Municipal Cease and Transfer Funding. Is there anyone like to present that? Joint Minerals Business and Economic Development. Senator Dockstader, would you like to present that? Oh, he's not here. Oh, okay.
Mr. Chairman, it looks like this is authorization for prior appropriations of funds, is my understanding of what's happening here. Looks like it's authorization for remaining funds of $13 million. That's what I think is happening here because there's no appropriation. That appropriation looks like occurred historically through SLIB of 51 million in grants. So this is probably either not appropriately before us as the Appropriations Committee or is just seeking authority.
Yes.
Yeah,
Senator.
I'm not sure what's going on here. I tried to figure this out. I don't know.
Yeah, I would suggest, Mr. Chairman, that we move the bill out, just so it doesn't get stuck here, or delay.
I think we need to move the bill out. This is a perennial. Every year, they have to come up with what their priority is for these closures, and so they put out a list every year and are trying to get them all cleaned up. There is money in that account. There was enough money to close it out the last time I heard from this bill. And so all they're doing is just prioritizing those facilities, either closing them or enhancing them. So you can see the closed ones don't amount to much, and the enhanced ones do. So all we're doing is agreeing to the amounts that they put in here. Yes,
So I'll vote yes to put it on the floor.
Yeah, there's no appropriation. Mr. Chairman, I would close public comment so we can move the bill.
all right. All right, we're committee's done. You're ready for the question? Linda, let's do the roll.
Chairman Anderson, who seconded the motion?
Senator Nethercott did.
Okay, who moved it?
Senator Anderson.
I did.
Okay, I apologize, okay. Senator Guru voted aye on his absentee ballot. Senator Nethercott?
Aye.
Senator Salazar?
Aye.
And Co-Chair Anderson?
Aye.
Co-Chair Anderson, House Bill 34 passes with 4 ayes.
Thank you. And we'll have the Minerals Committee do this one too, since they get this bill every year. I'll tell Dan that he's got another one to do. And that clears the docket and plenty of time to make our 9 o'clock meeting. So if there's nothing else,
Gavel in at 9.
yeah, we gavel in at 9. So if there's nothing else, we'll close this meeting and go to the floor. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for.